This week, people are
watching Runner Eye
and really holding space with that.
I didn't know that was happening.
Hey everybody, it's me, RunnerEye, and today we're going to be talking about 10 more queens who revolutionized Drag Race. A couple of months ago, I made a video talking about 10 queens who revolutionized the show, but there are so many other queens who are still out there who had a huge effect on the show, and we're going to be talking about them here today. So let's get into it right now. Katya invented changing outfits for lip syncs. So throughout the show, the queens have always been forced to lip sync in the outfits that they had worn on the runway that episode, and that still is largely the case on the show today. However, on All Stars, the queens are allowed change into whatever outfits they want to wear when they lip sync. And this rule change of allowing the queens to change their outfits was all thanks to Katya, who on episode 2 of All Stars 2 wore like this a synchronized swimming outfit thing, and it was like latex and it was like skin tight, and she physically could not lip sync in it. So then production decided to allow her to change an outfit so that she could get into something where she could dance in it. And I guess production liked this change. They didn't stop the queens from changing into different outfits. And now in the All Stars franchise, you're always allowed to change outfits. You're even allowed to do it in the global All Stars season that we just had, the traumatic global All Stars season. And if we want to talk about like the main show, has anyone ever changed their outfit to lip sync on the main show? The first person to ever do it, and one of the only, I think it might be the only person. Is that true? Fact check me in the comments, guys. Like you always do. Like you always do. I can't even spread lies on here without getting fact checked in the comments every 2 fucking seconds. But the first person to ever do it on the main series was Dusty Ray Bottoms for her Martian Eleganza Extravaganza runway. And that was because the materials that she was using was like unconventional, and they were like cutting into her skin, and production thought it would be like a safety liability to make someone like lip sync and something that was like cutting into their skin and like causing them harm. Carmen Carrera ended transphobia. So in every season prior to season 7, the show would often use transphobic language like every single episode. Whenever the TV would announce that RuPaul was going to be speaking about whatever challenge they were going to be doing that week, there was this phrase that the show used where it said, "Ooh girl, you got transphobic slur." But then in season 6, there was this mini challenge called Female or insert the transphobic thing in there. I'm not going to be saying it. Stop trying to make me say it. Where the queens were given screenshots that were like close-ups of famous women or like somewhat notable drag queens. And the show made the queens guess whether it was a biological woman or psychological woman, which is...
Yikes. This ain't it, Chief. Friendly reminder that this isn't a good look. Maybe don't try to get trans women killed. Disappointing.
And season 3 contestant Carmen Carrera, who is a trans woman, spoke out against this mini challenge, and she said it was dehumanizing to trans women. And she said that the show should be, focusing on educating people rather than, perpetuating these kind of like harmful views on trans people. And this controversy got so big that Logo eventually spoke out and said that they would no longer use transphobic language in any of their programming from now on. At first, this decision was met with a lot of backlash, both by the general audiences and by former contestants on the show who didn't like that they were taking out transphobic language from the show, saying that it's not that serious and that people were just being overly PC. But ultimately, Logo stuck to their guns, and they have not included, to my knowledge, any transphobic language in the show since. And they never did another mini challenge like the one we just spoke about there, and they also changed the transphobic TV thing, the transphobic TV. They changed the transphobic TV to say she already done had herses, and that's what they replaced it with. And the removal of this transphobic language on the show is largely credited to Carmen Carrera.
Not a lot of people know. They're not conscious of the words that they speak and the feelings that those words inflict on people like us.
April Carrion invented Instagram photo shoots of runway looks. So if you follow any Drag Race queens on Instagram, you might see them posting photo shoots of outfits that they wore on the show, or if they were eliminated early, they post, what I would have worn if I was still on the show, like photo shoots of their outfits. So this was something that wasn't really a thing at the beginning of Drag Race, because back in 1980 when Drag Race first began, social media didn't exist back then. But then as the show kind of progressed, people wanted to gain social media followers, and they started, posting their looks on Instagram to kind of gain that support from the fans. And contrary to popular belief, because popular belief states that Kimchi was actually the first person to ever do this, and I think even Naomi said that in an interview somewhere or something, and that a lot of people now believe that it was Kimchi who did this.
The only reason that RuPaul's Drag Race queens do this these days is because of Kimchi. On season 8, Kim is the first queen to ever document her looks and post them like when the episodes were airing.
But it turns out that it was actually April Carry-On from season 6, because she came out recently stating that she was the first person to do this. You can actually see in the reunion episode of season 6 that RuPaul showed some of her photo shoot pictures on the show.
April Carry-On. Now, you've been tweeting outfits you would have worn had you stayed on the show. Yes. And they look amazing. Wait a minute. Hold up, now bitch stole my look.
And now it's like the popular thing to do. Like, everyone posts their outfits that they wore on the show on Instagram. Alyssa Edwards invented taking track records into consideration when eliminating queens. So All Stars 2 was the first ever season to have a format where the queens were eliminating each other. And when this format was first revealed, the queens tried to come to a consensus about what was the most fair way to eliminate the bottom queens of each week. The queens universally agreed that the best way and the most fair way to send each other home would be to eliminate who did the worst on that specific episode, to view it as like in a vacuum and to not take track record into consideration and just decide to eliminate who did the worst on that specific episode. Alyssa Edwards was in the top, and she had the choice between eliminating Katya, who had won the week prior but who had the worst critiques of the week, or to eliminate Ginger, who had a worse track record but was like slightly better than Katya that week. And when she had that choice, she decided to go with track record and to eliminate Ginger, and everyone got super mad at her. And she cited her reason to save Katya as she took track record into consideration.
I didn't feel like it was fair to send Katya home because I was going off based off consistency.
And then everyone on the cast, except for Katya, obviously because she had been saved, disagreed with Alyssa and said that she was playing like a dirty game and that she had broken the rules that they had set up in the beginning.
Alyssa switched it up. It's pretty obvious. Katya should have gone home tonight.
And that by taking track record into consideration, she was playing like an evil, like cutthroat game.
Alyssa keeps bringing up consistency, and I don't know which way she's gonna go. So if she wins again, who's going home?
Which is crazy because now we view it as like the exact opposite. Like Alyssa's worldview of taking track record into consideration is like how everyone plays All Stars now. It's all about track records. It has nothing to do with if you did good or bad like that specific week. Because of this viewpoint of eliminating the person who did the worst that week like was still the popular viewpoint, then like Naomi eliminating Manila wouldn't have been a controversial decision, or like Blue eliminating Pangina. Like all of the most controversial decisions in Drag Race All-Stars history under this viewpoint been fair because all these people did the worst that week, except for Manila, which Latrice technically did do a little bit worse, but like we won't get into that. That disrupts my argument, so we have to get rid of that piece of evidence for right now and we'll get back to it. Just kidding, I'm probably never going to mention it again, but even just to further illustrate how insane like this viewpoint was, even if you look at All Stars 2, if the fairest decision was to eliminate the person who did the worst that week, that means the fairest choice in the later episode in the makeover where Alaska, someone who had been dominating the competition and didn't deserve to go home because she had been doing so well, the fairest choice would have been to eliminate Alaska on the makeover, which means that in this episode, Alaska was arguing for the exact type of viewpoint, which would have got her sent home later on in the season.
You have to base it off of the challenge itself.
You have to base it off of the challenge itself.
But anyway, Alyssa Edwards was the one who popularized this very like standard idea that is now like taken for granted in Drag Race All-Stars. Simone broke the "you can't win with two bottom two placements" curse. So back before season 13, there was this unwritten rule in the Drag Race fandom that stated that if you landed in the bottom two twice during your season, it meant that you can't win the crown at the very end. Like landing in the bottom two once was okay. In some cases, it actually like increased your trajectory towards the crown because it gave you kind of like a story moment, especially if you dominated the lip sync. But landing in the bottom two twice was seen as like, you're out of the running for winning the crown. You might as well just, like bend to la creme yourself and go home. And in order to kind of like prove this curse, people often cited different like finalists who hadn't won their seasons. So like Ginger, Adore, Brooklyn Heights were all seen as like huge contenders for the crown, but who lost out to someone who had not been in the bottom two twice. However, then you have season 13 and you had Simone, someone who had dominated the entire season, but had landed in the bottom two twice. And because of this curse, a lot of people assumed that Simone was out of the running for winning the crown until she did, and she did win the crown. And then it turns out that like this curse that the Drag Race fans had made up was actually not true. Who'd have thunk? And that all these, rules that the fans made up were baloney. And that you actually still could win the show if you had landed in the bottom two twice, and Simone was the person who kind of broke that curse. Naomi Smalls killed the Lip Sync for Your Life format. Now this one has been talked to death on the internet, so I'll keep it short, but Naomi is the reason that they changed the Lip Sync for Your Life format on All Stars. The Lip Sync for Your Life format is when there was a top 2 of the week and they got to choose which one of the bottom queens to eliminate, and on All Stars 4, Naomi Smalls chose to eliminate the front runner of that season, Manila Luzon, and production was clearly upset by this outcome because they had no like agency in being able to save Manila. Because not only did Naomi Smalls choose to eliminate Manila, but even if they gave the lip sync win to Monet Exchange, she also would have chosen to eliminate Manila. And this lack of power is rumored to have annoyed production, so they decided to change the format so that they had more power over who could go home in the episode. But they made the Roomocracy, where all of the queens could choose who they want to eliminate. Like every queen has a vote. And because of this, your individual vote has less power, because in order to have any like effect on who goes home, you need to have the majority of the votes, which means that it's harder to actually make a bold decision like eliminating a front runner if you have to convince more than half of the people there to actually get in on the decision. My arch nemesis Jack Fed has a whole video on this if you want to learn more about it, but I do not recommend Sharon Needles opened the doors for alternative drag on the show. While the show did have alternative drag before, like Nina Flowers, no one quite opened the doors of alt drag on the show like Sharon Needles did on season 4. She was the first winner to ever win while rejecting the more standard notions of beauty, and she leaned more into more kind of eccentric, character-esque self-expression. And we have had people like that on the show before, but this was the first time that a winner was chosen who had embodied all of these qualities. And by doing this and winning, Sharon proved to like everyone that you didn't have to be this like statuesque, polished, like glamorous model-esque character in order to win the show. That you could look like anything you wanted and not be striving for, the more like standard, view of beauty. And that would be accepted and embraced on the show to a certain extent. They got better over the years at accepting more kind of like alternative forms of drag. And of course, Sharon Needles did very problematic things, not only off the show, but also during the show behind the scenes. But it can't be denied that she had a huge impact on kind of like smashing that glass ceiling on the show. Violet Chachki popularized outfit reveals. So outfit reveals have been on Drag Race for a very, very, very long time. For example, Tyra Sanchez on season 2, or my personal favorite, which is Mimi I'm First on All Stars 1.
Mimi's doing a costume change. The big reveal, the big reveal. Oh, that's it?
However, there was one outfit reveal which kind of popularized the concept, and that was Violet Chachki on the first episode of season 7. This was a big moment for the show. A clip of this outfit reveal that Violet Chachki did went viral on Facebook at the time, to the point where we started having like runway themes themed around outfit reveals. All of this is thanks to Violet Chachki. So, depending on how you feel about outfit reveals, you can either send love or hate. No, I'm just kidding. Raja O'Hara is the first queen to win after competing 3 times. So a lot of queens on Drag Race have been on the show twice, going on All Stars, but then there are a few select queens who have also been on it 3 times, going on another season of All Stars. There's even people who have been on the show 4 times, but we're gonna ignore them for now. We're gonna focus on the 3-timers. But there is this, again, an unspoken rule that if you've competed on Drag Race twice and you have not won, you will not win if you come back a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th or however many times. You can only win on your first 2 times. Probably because it was viewed as unfair that someone who had only been on the show again once would lose to someone who has been on the show again twice. And it was viewed as like unfair that someone could come back multiple times until they won. But then we had Raja O'Hara, who who was a season 11 contestant. She lost season 11. Then she went on to All-Star 6. She lost All-Star 6. And then she went on to Canada versus the World season 1, and she won that season. And this was the first time that someone who had competed 3 times on Drag Race actually won. And again, it kind of shattered this illusion that someone could not win the show if they had been on more than twice. And now we have a bunch of winners who have followed Raja's footsteps and have won on their 3rd time competing, like Jimbo winning All-Stars 8 and Alyssa Edwards winning Global All-Stars. Willam is the reason for Drag Race's harsh security measures. So during after hours when the show is not filming, the queens are sequestered in their individual hotel rooms and they are not allowed to talk to each other. This is so that nothing big happens off camera, because it would be really confusing from like a narrative standpoint. For instance, if 2 queens were fighting on one episode and then after hours they made up and then they come back in the next episode and they're all good, it would be narratively unsatisfying to not understand how they came to like a resolution with their beef. And so because of this, every single interaction between the queens has to happen on camera. And there are some very harsh security measures that are put in place in order to make sure that the queens do not contact one another. These harsh measures include the queens being duct taped into their hotel rooms, which seems like a fire hazard to me. I don't know how that is legal. And the only way that they can communicate with like the outside world is through sticky notes.
Since we took your cell phone, your new form of communication is going to be via post-it note. You have to pass a note under the door, okay? So you're gonna write down like, I really want chocolate.
Okay. And the reason why these rules are as strict as they are is because of season 4 contestant Willam. Now, Willam has been very open about the fact that she screwed around with production and broke like all of their rules so that she would get disqualified from the show. And I'll just let her tell you all of the things that she got involved in, because it's more effective than me trying to list them off.
So I broke those rules with going to the store and getting stuff, but I brought other girls so they couldn't kick us all off. I stole, I got everybody high and drunk all the time. I tried to take feather fans. I tried to take RuPaul's Iron Fist shoes that were there.
And because she was breaking these rules, production decided that in order to prevent this ever happening again, they would place extra harsh measures on the queens to make sure that they do not interact after hours. So those are 10 more queens who revolutionized the show. If there's anyone that I forgot, put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Most people who watch me aren't even subscribed, which is crazy. You could totally like and subscribe, and then you get more content just like this delivered right to your doorstep. Don't ask how I got your address, it's fine, don't worry about it. I have a Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to go check me out over there, please do. I also have an extended version of this very video on my Patreon where we discuss even more queens who revolutionized the show. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. And now it is that special time of the week where I say thank you to Cam, Alicia, He Him Sir, Ryan the Nerd, Lucian, Emma Waters, Jay Stevenson. Did you just say wig? Reese Burke, James Burton, Cool Gal Nan, Vern Wisner, Brony RuPaul, Valerie with Love, Jabroni, Giovanni JPEG, Count Cacula, Yuno, Michael, Planet Daniel, The Almighty Anginator, Mobster Lobster, Jim Jamie James Bradshaw, Nico Montano, Ravi Kasari, Eve, Dip, Oliver Wyatt, Yoon Wyatt, Vico Pop, and Tone. Thank you so much to every single one of the patrons. Look at all these beautiful names scrolling down the screen right now. I appreciate every single one of you. Like, unironically, the Patreon support, like, financially helps me out so much. So thank you, every single one of you. It's like, the Thanksgiving was yesterday for the Americans, and this is what I'm thankful for. It's for the patrons.